Now, with multiple resets from the government after just over 1 year since the election, the Labour Party is still struggling to find its identity. The party is now trying to engage in a revival of the so-called soft left. Senior MPs who were the architects of the Labour Welfare Rebellion are to revive a powerful caucus on the party's soft left to influence the budget and beyond, in a move likely to further unnerve Number 10. Leading figures in the group have been pushing for Labour to take a far bolder and openly progressive approach in taking on both reform and the resurgent Green Party. Tribune, a group which dates back to the 60s, was reformed, not reforms, but reformed by the Labour MP Clive Efford in 2017 under the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn, where members included Yvette Cooper and the former Labour leadership challenger Owen Smith. Remember him? But it had limited success during the Corbyn era and was effectively moribund under Starmer. MPs said that Efford had given way so that the new MPs could revitalise the group and make it a better organising force, with the first aim being to pile on pressure over the end to the two-child benefit limit in the upcoming budget. Now, figures involved with this soft left resurgence include Lucy Powell, who praised Zohran Mamdani's victory in New York, using familiar language. Congratulations to Zohran Mamdani on such a clear win in New York. His victory shows that boldness and a story of economic change in the interests of the many, not the few, defeats the politics of division and despair. Many, not the few, eh? Now, many of you will remember the Labour Party 2017 campaign led by Jeremy Corbyn that increased their number of seats, scored 40% of the vote, and forced Theresa May's government into a hung parliament, with "for the many, not the few" being the campaign slogan. Is this group looking to enhance the politics of the populist left? I wouldn't say so. A separate new group on the left was launched over the summer that appears to more explicitly back a change of leadership. Mainstream has the backing of the Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham and other MPs on the left, including Rachel Maskell and Clive Lewis. But several MPs said they had been turned off by the aggressive communications approach of the group and its focus on electoral reform, and believe Tribune would have more organising success within the party. Now, if this new group thinks that the newly formed centre-left mainstream is too bold, then what exactly do you think the soft left is going to be? Stephen, it's clear that Labour finally see the Greens as a threat, but given how many are fed up with the Labour Party, I mean, do you think they would even remotely be successful in winning back left-wing voters?
I mean, maybe those ones who've got amnesia. Maybe maybe the ones who've
Maybe.
had a bump to the head. Um, I don't know anybody on the left who would dream of voting for Labour
Mm.
for a very, very long time. What are you voting for? That's the problem with Labour, is that the question is always, what are you voting for? And with Keir Starmer, unfortunately, what's happened constantly is you think you're voting for one thing and then you get something completely different when it becomes politically expedient. And he's been surrounded by people, including people like Lucy Powell, who don't seem to mind that, who've sort of enabled it, allowed it, continued. That there is nothing in the Labour Party that would draw anyone from the left back to them, no matter what kinds of policies they made, precisely because they've been nothing but deceitful the entire time they've been in power and before. So, they kind of are like the Lib Dems after the coalition in a way. Um, I'll admit this. I voted for the Lib Dems in 2010, and I did so largely on the ground promises over student fees. And of course, it was like completely abandoned, and they turned into uh, a party that aided in the killing of, hundreds of thousands of people through austerity. And Labour is, I think, very much bears a similar burden. They haven't, inflicted austerity, but they've hardly relieved it, and they've proved themselves to be really untrustworthy. And I think that's the fundamental issue for people on the left: is if you really have a vision of how the country could be different and better for most people, for the many, not the few, most people who live in it. If that's the horizon that you dream of, you don't dream of the Labour Party, a party that's just going to spit in your face as it did the last time around. You dream of a party that is genuinely oriented towards that horizon. That partly explains the success of the Greens, They are currently oriented towards that horizon, although they haven't always been. And it also explains, unfortunately, what can sometimes look like the squandered potential of your party, which would have been oriented entirely in its structure towards that horizon. I'm not giving up on them yet, but I'm also a romantic. Um, but yeah, Labour Party. I mean, they've got no hope, absolutely no hope of drawing the left back. I mean, of course, there are various kinds of quite soft left figures who just hate the idea of a more complicated left with the more complicated kinds of arguments that the left has to have amongst itself. They feel excluded from that, and I think they certainly also they also don't feel. They often don't have, I think, the kind of either lived or sort of theoretical kind of background that allows them to make the kinds of policies that will help people or that will restructure the country in a way that makes it a country in which people are able to flourish. They're really trained in this way of always sort of clinging to the side of centrism, which means that it means they don't have anything radical about them. And the left, if it's anything, has got to be something that's fairly radical. So yeah, I think Labour is done for the left. The left is done with Labour, long done with Labour. There's very little they can do now to get them back, I think.
I mean, I don't think you're romantic for having hope for your party, because I still have a little bit of hope too. I know there's many people on the ground. I think Max Shanley is proposing some sort of democratic program, so it remains to be seen on that. I suppose because I brought up a tweet from Lucy Powell about Zohran Mamdani, really, really strange seeing a lot of Labour MPs come out and praise him. Not to mention Wes Streeting. Wes Streeting was praising Mamdani. I want to ask about that. What's this phenomenon? I'm actually quite confused. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, it's called desperation, Curtis. It's called total desperation. They've seen a success somewhere, a resounding success, a kind of success that they dream about when they're on holiday, and they want to be close to it. And it's a kind of success that they are never ever going to have again. And so the further away it drifts from them, the closer and closer they want to get it, to the point where they're prepared to be so obviously hypocritical and shallow by being like, "Oh, Mamdani's one of us. Good for him." Blah, blah, blah. They would have axed him from the Labour Party years ago. There's no way that Mamdani would have been if he was in Britain a candidate for mayor of London, for example. He would have been expelled, and he would have probably been put in front of some kind of committee. Mamdani is not a Labour person at all. Mamdani is a socialist, and there are no socialists in Labour anymore because Labour doesn't want them.